You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody, that music means we are back once again. It is Monday. It is time once again to talk all things crypto derivatives and indeed beyond. Yes, it is time once again for the Crypto Rundown. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you folks are binging. Thanks to all of you who've been checking out the latest addition to the network, the Hot Options Report, hitting the network every day after the closing bell, breaking down all of the hot stuff. And spoiler alert, there's been one or two crypto names breaking into the top 10 of late out there. So if you're not checking out the Hot Options Report, what are you doing? Make sure you're listening to the full network, wherever you're getting this, wherever you get your favorite podcast programs. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you want to join us for some awesome pro Q&As this week, options, oddities, giveaways. We're coming up. It's the final days of July. Get your name in the hat now for the July Pro Trading Crate listeners. And then, of course, the only place to do all that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go as we see who's joining us for the old Crypto Rundown today. Pleased to welcome back our old pal, Mr. Bill, a.k.a. Bill Ulivari from Senecal Capital Management. Mr. Bill, welcome back to the Crypto Rundown, sir.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be back, always with you and your listeners. And yeah, this is another historic day.
Another historic day indeed. So let's break it down. It is time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down all the action in the world's leading digital asset. Yep, we're talking about the big dog, which is Bitcoin. And you know what? Not looking that dissimilar out there from where it was this time a week ago on the show. This time on the show, we were a little bit north of 117,000, 117,330 to be precise on the show last week. Coming in to start the show today, a little bit shy of 117,300, up about 360 handles on the week. So for Bitcoin, we know that's a rounding error. It can do that in a few minutes. In fact, it wasn't that long ago. Just yesterday, we were threatening about 120 out there again, 119 and change out there again. So taking a little bit of a hiatus to kick things off out there on the week. But that said, Mr. Bill, a lot going on in the world of Bitcoin right now. What is catching your eye, sir?
What is catching my eye is that PayPal enabled cryptocurrency Bitcoin payments to their platform, opening up the cryptocurrency to at least 30 million users at the flick of a switch. And so once again, adoption goes slow and then it goes fast. So apparently US merchants will be able to accept over 100 cryptocurrencies with instant conversion and low fees. Again, making one big step with PayPal. Pay with crypto as a service with PayPal. So that's pretty big. And the tariffs, of course, has been on the front burner everywhere. That's what's been catching my eye. Adoption.
Yeah, more than 100 cryptocurrencies. So maybe your beloved Sui. I haven't read all 100, Bill. A little Tron, a little Cardano. That's a huge 100. You're getting pretty deep there, Mr. Bill.
100 down, about 1 million more to go. And the market cap of Bitcoin ETFs Bitcoin is 2.4 trillion. Silver is 2.2 trillion. So Bitcoin now, for the first time in history, in a few short years, has eclipsed the market cap of the poor man's gold, that being silver.
There you go. You think it's coming for the big dog? Will it literally be digital gold someday, Mr. Bill?
I do believe so. I do believe it will.
I'm looking here for a full list here. I can't see a full list of all 100, but 100 cryptocurrencies, listeners. That's going to cover most of what you want to trade, I would think. Good stuff. Good stuff out there. Even Bill's beloved XRP might be on the list. We'll get to all that fun.
Mrs. Bill's.
Yeah, Mrs. Bill's favorite. Do you think with that kind of news we get a little bit more of a bump out there, Mr. Bill, but not really lifting the spirits, it seems, sir?
No, I agree. I mean, listen, you have to kind of buy the rumor, sell the news type thing. I think what also might be hurting a little bit in the crypto space is we have had a nice little rally in the US dollar. And so I suspect that as the dollar rallies, all risk on assets are going to suffer a little. So I think that might be part of it, Mark, to be honest with you, but we'll see. I mean, dollar had a great sell off from the 114 area down to 96.5. Now it's rallied just a little bit up to 98.5. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on things. The trend is definitely lower. But so we just got to keep our eyes open on those relationships.
Yeah, so according here, it's 90% of the total crypto market cap is now accepted, Bill. So maybe your beloved Sui will be in there. Wow.
I hope so. It's not if, but when.
You could trade all the Tron you want for goods and services.
And Pudgy penguins.
Yes, yeah, Pudgy penguins. There we go. Now we know we've hit the wall, sir. When Pudgy penguins, you could buy a pizza with PayPal. With Pudgy penguins. How many P's is that? Listen, there's a lot of P's. All right, let's keep on rolling beyond the land of alliteration to the land of some vol and some skew. Remember, if you want to crunch these numbers for yourselves, amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. If you did that, you would see, in spite of these announcements we're talking about here, the vol not really budging much from where it was this time last week. A weekly vol was at about a 35.5 on the show last week. Coming in to start the show today, it's at about a 40, so ticking up ever so slightly. That is still anemic, but we are also heading into those dog days of summer, which are not usually hot times from a vol perspective. 30-day vol, which is the more standardized vol metric for most assets. It was a 37.3 on the show last week, 37.5 this week, so almost literally unchanged, listeners. 180-day vol where the holders are hanging, 44.5 on the show last week, 46 this week. Bill, we've been talking for a while that Bitcoin vol, make sure the juice is worth the squeeze if you're selling it out there, because it is looking kind of light. But that said, not getting spicier this week, Mr. Bill. Anything catching your eye on the Bitcoin vol front?
Well, not from Bitcoin itself. I mean, I got assigned on some of my IBIT 66 calls. I did another cash secured put, but again, you and I had the conversation about Circle, and that implied volatility was like 113. So the first trade was good. Like my favorite saying is make the trade, manage the risk. I mean, that's what we did on the trading floor, Mark. You and I, we made the trade, managed the risk. And so I sold
that first trade was a banger.
The first trade was a great. Yeah, I sold those puts, 192 puts for about 9.3, bought them back for 185. Then I sold the 225 puts up for 1130, which lowered my cost basis to 206 and a quarter in Circle. So now I'm taking one a little bit on the chin here. So it's trading about 186. I'm looking for a short-term rally because the stochastics, relative strength, 20-day moving average all seems to be that the rubber band is kind of stretched to the downside. So it's not investment advice, but I am liking Circle here just because this premium is just so ridiculously juicy.
It is juicy, listeners. We'll get to more Circle in a little bit, but you're right, Bill. That was, not just you were caught up in the furor over those premiums. A lot of our pro members did. I myself sold the 195 puts going out that week. I think they were for somewhere around $6, somewhere in that time range, and they went out completely worthless. So that was a good do, as the kids say. Of course, you could have bought them back, and I did once the stock rallied quite a bit. Sounds like you flew a little close to the sun with that second lot. Would you say 225 puts?
I did. I sold the 225 puts for 1130. And again, looking at Bollinger Bands and relative strength, just trying to pick a spot that I think would be appropriate. That's not too far out of the money. Where I'm only getting a few. The juice is worth the squeeze, as you said, but just taking a little bit more aggressive approach because I already got assigned on my IBIT position.
Selling puts in IBIT, selling puts in Circle. Bill, you are a degenerate premium seller, if ever there was one, just like all of our listeners out there. So
100%.
You fit in perfectly well with all. It looks like our listeners were even asking before I got there. They wanted to know, did Bill close his puts out? So yes, he did. Folks were asking that when it rallied after you were on the show on Monday. I think it rallied literally a day or two later, and everyone was asking us, did Bill close his puts? I was like, I don't know. We'll have to find out. So
I have what's called the 80% rule. So there's a trading book by Al Sherbin that I bought off of Amazon. And Al used to be in the OEX pit with me and, Sosnoff and Scotty Schneider and all those guys. And so Al wrote a really good book on position management, which I really appreciate his insights and his expertise. And so I close out every put if I have an 80% profit. I don't leave too much juice left in the option, but then I'm trying to be a little bit more diligent on the ones that go against me. So that's why I closed out that trade. I sold it at 930, bought it back for 185, sold the other puts for 1130, was working a bid, but never even got close.
Yeah, it's funny, like that one you had to be really greedy not to close those. They worked out so spectacularly. It was literally a day later and the stock's 30 handles away. If you don't close those out, I said to our listeners, I said, I haven't asked Bill, but I know Bill, I know the risk manager in him. There's no way he's letting these ride to pick up the last few cents that he has on these puts. These things are such huge winners.
I closed my Tesla puts this morning that I sold like 2 days ago. And so, yeah, I mean, it's, once you got to try to keep that discipline because there's too many opportunities, and so you can't let things get too carried off the leash.
So wild stuff, yeah. And then I looked to reestablish the next week, and I kind of got busy. The premiums were good, not quite as good the second week, and then of course we had all this action, and it blew back through the 200 strike in the other direction. So it's been pretty wild of late, and I haven't had a chance to really get back in. But that first week, you're right, it was just too attractive. It was irresistible. And again, some of our listeners will be happy to know, Bill. They were asking me if you closed your puts. Now the world knows, Mr. Bill.
Now the world knows.
Let's get out to the Bitcoin Skew front after all that fun Circle talk. By the way, since we're talking Circle, I might as well hit on it right now, listeners. Circle hanging out a little bit shy of the 200 handle, 186.5 right now. The vol also coming in a little bit. That's another reason why, again, like I said, I haven't been super aggressive on getting back out there. We're at a 52-week low from a 30-day vol perspective. Now, that said, it's still Circle. So that vol is still fairly spicy compared to, let's say, Bitcoin. We said Bitcoin is hanging out, 35, 40. The 30-day vol in Circle now is still a 70, so still a lot more, but obviously down quite a bit from where it was not that long ago out there. So look, what is the high for Circle vol? It was back on June 20th, 178 out there, listeners. So down a wee bit, about 100 points from there. But interesting stuff nonetheless. So have you been trading Circle? I'm curious. Hit us up. Let us know. Skew-wise, again, we're not going to find anything as sexy as Circle in the Bitcoin Skew, listeners. It was kind of flat on the weekly Skew last week, and it's literally flat this week. The Skew is telling us nothing right now in terms of how Bitcoin options are shaping up. 30 days, a little bit more insightful. It was negative 0.67 on the show last week, negative 2 this week, so slightly bearish, but then a lot of that is probably just us coming off that nearly 120,000 level on the weekend. And then, of course, the 180-day skew was a positive 2 on the show last week, positive 1.4. Right now, again, not a lot going on the skew front. So let's keep on rolling out to the land of Bill's other favorite place to premium harvest. That's IBIT, hanging out at about a 67 when we kicked off the show. That puts it up about 60 cents from our show last week. In terms of ADV, it is literally unchanged. It maintains its action out there, listeners. 632,000 contracts on the tape every day out there in IBIT. Is it going to get there today? I don't know. Looking a little bit lighter. Still very active, though. 400,000 contracts. If you listen to us on the option block earlier today, you know VIX was struggling to put up 250,000. So IBIT already at 400,000 is looking pretty good. Will it hit that ADV today? Probably not, but you never know. The day is still has a little time left to go out there. A 30-day vol in IBIT, again, kind of similar to what we were just talking about with the Deribit vol. It's at about a 38, down about a point from where it was this time last week. If you're wondering what is the hot option, such as it is out there on a light day in IBIT, listeners, it is the 66 puts expiring this Friday. 27,000 of those have gone up today. Now, there is a lot of OI on that strike, so there could be some rolling action. Looks like there's about 26,000 of the 66 puts going up, and those are opening, so there could just be a straight roll down on the puts. Maybe Bill, are you rolling your 67 puts down to the 66s, sir?
No, but you bring it up, and you're like my good luck charm here. So I'm thinking I might sell the 66 cash secured puts for August 1st. I'm gonna get to pick up a $0.50 on those over like 3 days. So I don't know. Maybe by the end of the show, or by the end of the next few minutes, I'll have put some of these out, because again, looking at the Bollinger Bands, relative strengths, the stochastics, looks like we could probably stay above that 65 area over the next couple of days. So I think I'm going to sell those just for giggles for my own account.
$0.50, Mr. Bill. Interesting. I like it out there. Yeah, the 66 puts going out this Friday, listeners, trading $0.50. If you're going out to the ones next week, listeners, those are trading a little over $1, about $1.20. So if you want a little bit more juice and you're happy, drawing a line in the sand on that 66 strike going out a week, then perhaps a little IBIT is your friend out there, listeners, on these 66 put strike there. As we keep on rolling, not a lot going on in MSTU out there. We saved that for when Greg's on the show out here instead. So let's keep on rolling, listeners. Let's go to a little bit of the old Altcoin Universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the Altcoin Universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Altcoin Universe, the portion of the show where we break down all the action in all the digital assets outside of the big dog, which is Bitcoin, except for right now at the top of the show, where we break down the top 10 from a market cap perspective. Remember, you're getting 90% of the market cap of the crypto market over there at PayPal right now. So if there's something you want that you can't exchange for goods and services over there, you're really digging deep out there. Speaking of digging deep, last week it cost you about almost 30 billion, 29.8 billion to break into the top 10 on the market cap list. That got you to Tron. This week we are down a little bit, 28.3 billion. That gets you to our old pal Cardano. Cardano and Tron have been doing this dance for the number 10 spot for a while. Switching again this week, Cardano number 10, like we said, 28.3 billion. Number 9, good old Tron, 30.6 billion. So if you look at just Tron, it is actually up on the market cap spectrum this week, but it cost you less to break into the top 10 this week. Kind of weird. Number 8, Bill's other favorite, it's Doge, 34.5 billion. Number 7, USD Coin, 63.9 billion. Number 6, it's Solana, almost 100 billion, 99.9 billion to be precise. I'm sure if you wait 5 minutes, that might change. Number 5, good old BNB, 115.5 billion. Number 4, yes, I said number 4, it's Tether. We'll get to the big party that was number 3 in the Ulivari house in a second. 163.5 billion for Tether. Number 3, yes, kicking Tether to the curb last week. It's XRP, 186.5 billion. Number 2, our old pal ETH, 456 billion, and the big dog BTC 2.3 trillion out there. So there's your market cap breakdown. Let's get out to the number 2 out there. You know, Bill, for a long time at the start of the year, we were kind of dismissing ETH. It looked like a bit of an also run crypto asset. Not a lot of people were coming on this show with any sort of optimism for ETH. Looking at the overall numbers, it was underperforming terribly. It underperformed last year, and then it kicked off this year, losing 50% right off the top. It was hard to be an ETH bull for much of the year on this show. And then the last month and a half, 2 months kicked in, and we've seen ETH go on this run. It's one of the best performing assets over the last 2 months that we track here. It's just absolutely wild. Kind of treading water this week, right around 37.90 on the show last week, 37.67 this week. So not a heck of a lot of evolution on the price front this week. But I guess just the fact that it maintained its price level, Bill, will keep the XRP bulls happy. But what are your thoughts on this just absolutely amazing resurgence we've seen in ETH? Not only is it not down 50% anymore for the year, Bill, but it's actually up on the year. How wild is that?
It really is, Mark. And honestly, I think it's due to this concept of a Bitcoin treasury company, where companies that are actually buying cryptocurrencies and keeping them on the corporate balance sheet as an asset of the firm. Michael Saylor did it with Bitcoin. He has some 600,000. I don't even know how many Bitcoin he has, 620,000 now. We're seeing it with Metaplanet, Concilium, Semler Scientific. We're seeing it with all these companies that have struggled growing and keeping up with the market cap in the S&P 500, and especially the magnificent the Mag 7. So Ethereum now is being considered a treasury asset, and we saw some companies saying, "Listen, we're going to sell securities, we're going to sell convertible bonds, we're selling preferred shares, we're going to leverage our balance sheet as much as possible and and purchase Ethereum and Bitcoin." And Solana. I haven't seen any XRP companies, anybody doing that with XRP yet, but Solana and a few other tokens. So it's really interesting that when crypto first came out, we figured, hey, this is the great way of getting rid of Wall Street. This is our exit ramp to traditional finance, right? DeFi was going to take over TradFi. Now in this great paradox, this great contradiction, Wall Street seems to be saving crypto in a way, because they're just billions and billions per week are getting purchased here. So it's just really interesting.
Wall Street loves a winner, and if your price is going up, Wall Street likes you. And the assets, well, I've always joked on this show for years, Bill, at the end of the day, everyone always wants to know, what is the real institutional demand for crypto? And I always just say, where's Bitcoin trading? If it's at a new all-time high, Wall Street likes it, institutions want it. If it's at a low, they don't care.
Exactly.
And you could crunch all the numbers behind the scenes you want, but that's a pretty good barometer at the end of the day for whether Wall Street and big institutions are into crypto or not. Where is Bitcoin trading? But we're not talking Bitcoin right now. Listen, we're talking ETH. And on the vol front, ETH has been spicier than Bitcoin. It usually is, but this time of year, it's been much more stark, much more pronounced, because ETH is actually moving right now. ETH nearly a 70 on the weekly vol. In fact, it was a 74 and a third on our show last week, down to about a 68, but still nearly double what we're seeing out there in Bitcoin. On the 30-day vol front, 68.6 last week, 66.5 this week. So coming down a little bit as it's going to happen. We're hanging out in the quiet summer period, and ETH is kind of treading water from a price perspective. So you're going to see a little bit of that vol come off the top. That is natural. And going out to where the hodlers hang out, 65.3 on the show last week, 66 this week. So getting slightly spicier out there on the hodler vol front. Skew-wise, not a lot going on out there. Positive 3.5 on the show last week. So a little bit optimistic. It's pretty much flat this week. Again, we're kind of treading water, so that makes sense. On the show last week, the 30-day skew was 4.25, positive 4.25. So again, pretty optimistic, down to about a 2.15 this week. And going out to where the hodlers hang out, 6-month skew, positive 2.7 on the show last week, positive 5 right now. So longer term, folks are liking the chances here, at least in the near term, for a little bit of ETH upside. Over this past week, folks have been piling into a little bit more, giving a little bit more juice to the longer term premium, which is kind of interesting. Again, this Genius Act that's been driving a lot of these stable coins are going to be on the ETH network. So does make some sense out there. We already talked Circle, so I won't belabor the point out there. Let's hit Solana really quickly. On the show last week, 196.11. Giving up the ghost a little bit, down to 184.5, down about 11.5 handles. So I'm sorry, no Solana Lambos out there in the chat this week. But let's not bury the lead anymore. Mr. Bill, I mean, last week was really the hot week for it, but we could still let you celebrate a little bit belated celebration for you. We probably should bring your wife on. She could really pop the champagne for us, because last week we saw XRP climb all the way to north of 360, taking the number 3 spot in market cap away from Tether, a spot that has been locked to Tether almost since we started this show. I mean, it's been that long. Tether's had a vice-like grip on the number 3 spot. Now it's our old pal XRP, giving a little bit back this week, back down to 313, so down nearly 50 cents, but still locked to that number 3 spot. Bill, our listeners want to know what kind of party was going on in the Ulivari house when XRP took the number 3 spots.
Oh, Mark, I got to be honest with you. My pride just will not let me give mad props to my wife for loading up on the XRP in her little account. In the case of a divorce, she gets all the XRP. Okay, that's her baby. So no, somebody who's been trading options for 40 years and crypto for almost 10, to let the missus give her, don't tell her she's right downstairs, any credit for owning one of the best crypto tokens out there. I'm sorry, my pride just can't handle it, Mark. You know what I'm talking about. You've been married a long time. There's just some things I can't cross the line in, and that's one of them.
My wife's all in on the Pudgy penguin. She loves him. Just kidding. That would be funny if she was loading up on those. Right. Speaking of other assets you folks like to load up on, you like to help a little bit of Doge, also coming down from its high. Everything's kind of coming off their highs from last week was kind of it was crypto week, coming off the heels of that, obviously, and things were looking pretty optimistic. Doge was north of 28 cents on the show last week, a little bit shy of 23 now, so down a little over a nickel on the week. Litecoin, same deal, 117 in the third last week, 109 in the third this week, so down about $8 on the week. Cardano, 89.9 cents last week, 79.7 cents this week, so down a little over a dime out there this week. Moving on to Polkadot, pretty much 455 last week, 402 this week, down about 53 cents. And then everyone's favorite Shiba Inu, 1,000,000,1560 on the show last week. This week, 1,000,000,1351. So again, unfortunately, no Shiba Lambos for anybody. But Bill, you've talked Pudgy Penguins on here. You've talked Sui. Any other weird or exotic altcoin lighting up your wallet this week?
No, Mark, honestly, other than the fact that, Solana has flipped somewhat negative to Ethereum and SUI, SUI. And I've spent a lot of time following, crypto enthusiasts, macro economists. And for them, SUI is like, we could see an 8x, a 10x in SUI by the end of this year. That's their prediction. So Solana, maybe if we're lucky, it doubles. Maybe it goes from roughly 200 to 400, possibly 600 top. We are entering alt season. This is where we get these crazy parabolic rallies. But other than Pudgy Penguins and Sui, it depends on how you say it, potato, those are still my two favorite that I'm focusing on right now. And that's really about it. And CircleVol, that's my focus since our last show.
We really lured you to the dark side with CircleVol.
You're such a bad influence.
I apologize, Mr. Bill, for being a bad influence.
Don't. No, it's all good. Listen, as I said before, we have, our 80% of our client portfolios are 60-40 or 70-30. We have 20% we can play with. And it's better than money market funds. It's better than short-term bond funds. We are, cranking out a lot of synthetic income, call it what you will. And, do we get everyone right? No, but we've never done better in terms of success, like the percentages of how we're doing. We're north of 85, almost 90% success rate on our trades. We do get hit now and then, right? Like Lululemon, we finally bailed out of that one. My gosh, I rolled that one for 2 months. And United Healthcare is one we're keeping our eye on right now. But, again, the 80-20 rule, 80% of our profits are made in 20% of our trades. We just have to manage the risk in the other ones. And other than that, it's all good.
And it's all good with your questions, listeners. Let's get to some of those right now.
You've got questions about crypto. Who doesn't? It's time to find out the answers to your crypto questions.
All right, let's get out to the crypto question. We already asked a bunch of the questions in our chat about did Bill close his puts in Circle? The answer is yes. We have established that already. So let's go out here to our question of the week, Bill, which very much touches on the crypto markets. It just went live a little bit ago, so our audience is coming to grips with it right now. And we said, you know what? Heading into the dog days of summer, not usually a wild time to buy straddles out there, but we're going to do it anyway because it's fun. So, gun to your head, you got to buy one of these effectively monthly August straddles right now. Which one are you going to buy? We gave you 4 choices. The Qs August straddles hanging out right around $15 when we posted this. We have the VIX straddle at about $3. We have IBIT, Bill's beloved IBIT, at $4.50, and GLD at $8.50. Mr. Bill, if you have a vote, sir, I'm guessing you're going to go IBIT, but that is kind of rich. Maybe not. You have to buy it. Remember, you can't sell it. You got to buy it. And then B, which way do you think our audience is going?
Well, I think the audience is going to go to QQQ straddles, and I'm going to go with them or the VIX straddle because, listen, I just posted a point and figure chart on your Twitter page, and when you watch the front month VIX make a new low against the 3-month VIX, it like breaks a new low using point and figure charting. The next rally into X's, point and figure X's, is usually a pretty good explosion in volatility. So I don't think GLD you're going to get your bang for your buck. I don't think you're going to get it in IBIT because, again, we're still kind of moving into crypto summer and potential bull market, for the next Q1 or next, Q3 and Q4. So I'm going to say either VIX straddle or the QQQ straddle. Because my clients already have more positions in Qs than anything else, I'm going to go with the Q straddle.
Once again, Mr. Bill, you have your finger on the pulse of our audience, or you're cheating wildly, one way or the other. Because
I'm not this time.
That is the exact.
I was peaking last episode, but not this time.
That is exactly, our audience is exactly tied, 37.5% each for the Qs and the VIX. On the one hand, you might be saying buy in VIX straddle for $3. On the other hand, Bill, we get one tweet out of the White House. And VIX is moving more than $3. You're looking pretty good on that straddle. So
100%.
And then IBIT, surprisingly, bringing up the rear, Bill, 25% for IBIT. I guess people are just conditioned to selling premium and not buying it out there in IBIT. And then no love for GLD, Bill. No love for GLD. Actually, our number is just ticking now. I think they heard you, Bill. Now 50% of our audience wants to buy the VIX straddle. So they definitely heard you. 30% wants to buy the Qs and 20%. So IBIT fallen. 20% only for IBIT. Still not a single vote for gold. That gold straddle not catching anybody's eye, Mr. Bill. Get out there, listeners. That is our question of the week. So obviously you'll have to the end of the week at Options on Twitter to make your voice heard. All right, Mr. Bill, another wild one is in the books here on the Crypto Rundown. We talked Circle, we talked IBIT, we talked Bitcoin, we talked ETH, we talked a little Pudgy Penguins and some XRP. It was a wild journey out there. Even talked some VIX and some Qs, sir. We hit it all on the show. I guess all we're missing is some ags talk, maybe some energy, and then we'll have it hit it all, sir.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I love having a conversation with you because there are things that fall off my desk, and love to get new ideas. I mean, it's very helpful for me, and it gives me some additional things to talk about on your show. So it's good. I'm looking at these VIX calls. I'm telling you, they do look pretty cheap here.
Yeah, nobody's buying VIX Upside right now. So if you want some, they'll give it to you for pretty much a song, sir.
I mean, look at what month were you thinking? August 20th?
These were just straight monthly August expiration. We weren't going anything beyond that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? You could pick up these 18 calls for like $1.25. That's, that VIX can go from 15.5 to 25.5 like that. So I might have to look into that.
Oh, we're talking you into buying premium. Uh-oh.
I know, right?
Who are you? What have you done with Bill?
I know. I went from a long gamma trader to now being a degenerate crypto put seller to, well, at least hedging a little bit with VIX.
Your clients are calling you up. Stop buying all this upside in VIX. What do you do? You're supposed to be selling the premium. But yes, if you agree, listeners, one tweet can turn this around. it is a historically quiet period in the vol front, so they will give you some upside for relatively low levels out there, all things considered. Yeah. So check it out. And if folks want to check out what you have cooking, Mr. Bill, where should they go? What should they do?
CenacleCapital.com. That's CENACLE capital.com. And yeah, reach out and have a conversation. There's always, make the trade, manage the risk. That's all I can say.
Make the trade and manage the risk. Give Bill a follow if you haven't done so already at Cenacle Capital, CENACLE Capital, all one word, over there on the Twitter/X. That's going to do it for us on the Crypto Rundown. Not going to do it for us on the network today, though. Back again in about an hour for the newest addition to the network, the Hot Options Report. Will Mara or iBit or any of these names make it into the top 10 today? You got to tune in to find out. If you're hanging out in the chat, just hang out. I see them talking about, you got them all derailed about Pudgy Penguins now in the chat, Mr. Bill. But that said, I'll be back in a bit to talk all things hot options. You folks on the live, of course, can listen to it without waiting for it to hit the network. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Then we're back again with our usual array of content throughout the rest of the week until we're back again next week, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.